G'day, Broads from Street Machine here as we continue to meet the contestants for the 2021 Milwaukee Street Machine of the Year. With me again is Ian Marv Kelly. Marv, how are you, mate?
Mate, I'm absolutely tip-top. We've got a pretty cool collection of cars to discuss tonight. I want to introduce Peter Sharp, who is the man behind the absolutely amazing Sharp HQ widebody Monaro. So, Peter, for those who might not be aware, for those people who haven't been on the internet since 2012, can you tell us a little bit about the what your car is and how it came to be?
The car is a 1972 HQ Holden Monaro. I actually bought two of them on eBay back in 2008. So that was how it started. And then I took it to Graham at Downtown Customs. We really didn't have the plan to make the car that it turned out to be. That kind of grew over a number of years. But it's been a really exciting and rewarding project as well to see what we've been able to make out of it.
Graham built the thing all new inner structures, and then it went wide. Now, how much wider is it at the front and the rear?
So it's about 65 mil wider at the front arch and 110 mil wider on either side at the rear. We called it tubbing to the outside. And the reason that we originally wanted to do that, we came up with the wheel configuration. And then we started thinking about the impact on the interior of the rear of the car. And I really wanted those back seats to be kind of original. And we already had the thought of putting a modern Monaro interior into it and then modifying that, but using the base structure. So by keeping those inner wells pretty much in the original position, we called it tub to the outside. And of course, the reverse curves in those guards are incredible, the way they've made them. But they reverse and then they camber again. So that became, a big job in itself. And that's where we involved Jamie down in Melbourne.
To just say it's a wide body car really sells this car short, because this is probably the first iteration that we saw of an American style Pro Tour. I mean, we've got Forge Line custom wheels. Yep. We've got the Harrop supercharged LSX engine in there. The thing's built to drive, right? There's intense engineering under the skin.
As well as the suspension, even the heat shielding that we put and planned into the car. That was all approached from the point of view that we wanted to make a car that is as good as a today modern car. I renovated a 1970 HG Premier. And I used that when I got married in 2008. And it's like all projects, right? You're always working until like the last minute. And we ended up going on our honeymoon and the starter motor failed right near a railway crossing in Queensland. So she said after that, hey, if you ever build a car again, you've got to make this thing just like a new car. So that was what partly drove us on this journey, in addition to just the craziness of the wide body. Graham and the team, they really did justice to the car. We weren't originally planning to put this much effort and money into it, to be honest. But the quality that we saw starting to come out just drove us to, okay, let's do something else. And Graham was really obliging. Sometimes we'd pause the car and then start again. But he always worked with me on those visions and ways of shaping things. We weren't trying to make it into something that it's not. We wanted to retain a lot of the HQ styling. So when you look at the side of the car, aside from it being lower in the floor pan, it really is the exact original car without gaps and so forth. But of course, when you look at it, front on and back on especially, it's quite a different car now.
This much work going into a project, really pushing boundaries that we hadn't seen, that does have a bit of an effect on your timelines for build progress. And this wasn't a 48-hour reality TV build, was it? How long did it end up taking?
Not at all. It was pretty much 9 years by the time that Graham started and ended. But the timeline, honestly, Ian, was not my big motivator. I was really after the quality and the style and the finish that we wanted. So when we got timeline slippage, that wasn't a big deal because I don't have a finite date to use it. But we are going to use it and drive all around Australia. And that's why we made the boot bigger, deeper, and I do plan to put a bull bar on this thing when I'm traveling around Australia. So watch out for that one, okay? The bull bar is still coming. And I even changed it from a 6-speed manual. We had a really good gearbox set up. And one day I'm thinking, if I go out for a beer, I just don't like driving at all after I've had a beer or two. Then I'm looking at my wife and she doesn't know how to drive a manual. So we changed it to automatic. And even working through that with Graham, that had other impacts on the size of the tunnel setup and all sorts of things, right? So yeah, it's been a journey, but because this is not my prime business, I do look at this as something that needs to be really satisfying. I just made sure that those things never really upset me. This is a lifelong dream vehicle that we're building. So we've been able to manage it that way.
Congratulations on your nomination, mate, and on the car in general. It really is quite incredible. Have you had a chance to check out your competition in Street Machine of the Year?
Yeah, absolutely. I love the Toyota Land Cruiser. I think it's King Cruiser from memory.
Mm-hmm.
Just the way that car sits, and it looks quite different from it was originally. But then in some ways, and I think the reason I'm drawn to that is that my car feels that it's been through a little of the similar transformation on taking something that's already good and well respected, but then making another version. And of course, Dean's HT Monaro, that's obviously got to be one of my favorites because I feel like I've kind of lived through that build, because every time I go down to to Australia, I can see it again and see the progress. And I think the paint finish on that car is awesome.
Peter, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate the chat. Congratulations on your nomination and on building such a fantastic car.
Look, I'm really stoked to be nominated. Very appreciative of that. And I wish all of the entrants, all the best of success. Doesn't matter who the winner is. The main thing is that we all put in the best effort that we can and drive our cars, right? That's why we're building them.
Absolutely. Thanks again. Now, Marv, I believe we've got another Snotty contender on the line. We
do. We've got one Pro Tourer that's quite traditional in some senses, in that it's V8 powered and it's that famous Australian muscle car. This next one isn't quite that same line. We have a small Ford from England, John Dennis's FJ20 powered Escort. So, Jono, this thing is not what it's not what you'd call a typical Pro Tourer, right?
No. It's what I'd call a miniature Pro Tourer, I guess.
So this engine in a Ford Escort, why'd you go the Nissan FJ20?
I always loved FJ20s, as me and my boys grew up racing cars and Datsun 1600s. It was always the choice to go to in the 90s. And it was just a really strong cast iron block, a great twin cam, 2 litres. Straight off the bat, you could make some good power just off bleeding the turbo on a T-piece, and just seeing guys run 1600s all day, every day on these things, very hard and punishing them. It was my first choice. Oh, let's lie. First choice was a Cosworth, obviously, but the FJ, with its look, once I milled the top of the rocker covers, I knew it would look pretty close to an old Lotus motor in the car, which will give it that little bit of a liking to the guys that love everything stock and forward and stuff. So that was probably another pushing towards the FJ, the shape of it.
What drew you to the Mark 1 Escort? Do you like the small Fords and Datsun 1600s and that sort of thing?
Always. My first car I had that never hit the road, which I spent about $800 as a first-year apprentice on spray painting and paint stripper, was a Mark 1 two-door Cortina. And my uncle always had a little, he called it a Squire panel van. I think it's called a Popular. I'm not sure. But, yeah, it's a little Squire panel van he had in his backyard. It had a GT Cortina motor in it. And it had all velour trim. He never had it running while I was there, but he used to always open the door and let us play around in it. And when I was young, that was a pretty cool thing to do, The little Ford Escorts were always a go-to for me. It's a bit sad that all my mates like Datsuns and used to give me a caning for wanting a Ford. But, yeah, I eventually got my Ford and done it my way.
You're always pretty rad, man. Like, it's the thing slammed on the ground. Instead of going for the big, forest arches, the big blister arches on the outside, you kind of tucked all that meat back in underneath the guards. It kind of crosses Pro Touring and Pro Street. Was that something you kind of sat down with Aaron Gregory and really nutted out?
I really like stock steel cars. So the way the car come out with that metalwork on it, I think it's fantastic to be able to work with what you've got, not stretching three-quarters and stuff like that. I really like that. The stock steel slammed on its guts over some, like the RS front guards are still stock width. They're just lipped a little bit and brung up a little bit. So to me, I like that look. If I was going for a rally car, I love the Forest guards. I think they're fantastic. And I could have got so much more meat, but I just love how small and boxy this car is. And, all the lines on its body flow so nice up over its arse end and its hips, above the wheels. The rear wheels especially just look so, I don't know, just perfect.
They certainly do look good when they're shrouded in smoke, because I know that you're not shy for absolutely giving it the berries, mate.
No, I've got to. The engine's already out, being rebuilt. It's just gone in today. So I already wrecked that before I got a full tune on it.
How did you feel when you got the tap on the shoulder and you heard that you were a Smoddy nominee?
To get top 16 was fantastic. I think it was great. For a four-cylinder in a big-time V8 magazine, and that's where Australian's Tough Guy magazine is. It's Street Machine, So, yeah, I was quite stoked with it.
We don't feature a lot of four pots, really. So for you, A, to score a feature, B, to be nominated for Street Machine of the Year is no small thing. What would a win mean to you, mate, if you were able to go all the way with this?
You're going up against, Eunice's fantastic Tirana. That thing, one of my favourite cars, And then the HQ Holden. I was just so glad to be nominated with those guys, let alone being up against them, So winning it, it'd be nice, seeing as though I haven't worked for 8 weeks. But it would be fantastic to have another couple of photos in the Street Machine magazine. It's fantastic. I'd love to have that. Give
the viewers a reason to vote for this thing.
Okay, well, I think it'd be fantastic to get a four-cylinder on there as a winner. Like, I know we've got some really top-notch stuff in there. This car is going to be used. It's going to be a Street Machine. I've already pulled, sway bar rubbers out of it and jammed the wheel in the front guard and ripped the paint off it. It's already got stone chips on it. It's getting used every day. When I can drive it, I pick my kids up from school. I'll run it up to the shops, blow a burnout as soon as the kids tell me to blow a burnout at the lights. It's just, I try to keep it real. And if I can get that accolade, it would be fantastic. I think it would be great.
It's an incredible little car, absolutely worthy of a spot in the mag every day of the week, and quite clearly worthy of being nominated for Street Machine of the Year. So, mate, congratulations and thanks once more.
Thank you very much, mate. And I'd love to thank Aaron for taking on the big job and finishing it off for me from where we were with Loz.
Well, if you'd like to see a four-cylinder win Street Machine of the Year, or if you'd like to vote for Peter Sharp's HQ Monaro or any of the other 14 cars that are up for nomination, the Milwaukee Street Machine of the Year for 2021, head to smoddy.com.au. That's SMOTY.com.au and lodge your vote. You could win a cool $5,000 just for doing that. And thanks again for tuning in tonight. We'll keep rolling these videos out and introducing you to the Smoddy contenders so that you can learn more about their cars and figure out which one is your favourite.